Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Google Tour Builder for Any Subject. This session is part of a series of free webinars offered every month by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center up here in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone, and we'd like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today or who are watching this recording in the future. All these webinars are recorded and you can watch them later on if you missed the live one, or share with colleagues who are not able to be here live today. Howdy, my name is Eric Curts, and I am a tech integration specialist here at SPARC. I'm also a Google trainer, and all of my resources can be found at controlaltachieve.com. That's where I put my blog posts and slideshows and training resources and templates and videos and so forth. Please feel free also to connect with me on social media, Twitter at Eric Curts. All of the resources for today's session will be found at tiny.cc/spark247. If you're watching this video live, chances are you're already at that website, but we do get quite a few people who watch this recorded later on and want to make sure you're able to access the resources that go along with this session. So at that web address, tiny.cc/spark247, you'll get to this page here where you'll see the live video now, which will become the recorded video later. And below there are the resources. So there's a slideshow we'll be going through. There's a few blog posts in here that have all the details about what we're going to be doing here today. And we've got links to quite a few sample tours, and we'll be taking a look at some of those as we work through this today. Below there as well is a live session chat document. There's a Google document here that if you give a click on that, you can open up that document and it is editable. So please feel free to add any questions, comments, suggestions, links, resources, etc. to that document. It's a good way for us all to communicate and exchange resources. The YouTube chat stream is also live during this session, so I'll do my best to keep an eye on both of those resources throughout this time and see if there's any comments that come up that we need to address. Below there is a session evaluation for afterwards. Would love to get your feedback, and hey, don't forget, you can get a certificate of attendance for watching these webinars. When this is all done, go ahead and take the quiz at the bottom there, and it will generate a PDF certificate of attendance for 1 contact hour for you to turn into your school if your school allows webinars for your professional development. Now, while you're on the site, please be sure to check out. We've got lots of other recorded trainings from the past, and keep an eye on the PD schedule for upcoming ones. We're going to probably have another one in November and in December as well. Just don't have those on the books just yet, but keep an eye to see what the next upcoming webinars are going to be. Fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and get started into this training here today. So what are we going to be talking about? This session is going to be on a tool called Google Tour Builder. And so we're going to start by explaining just what Tour Builder is, take a little bit of time to run through a couple example tours and kind of see how they work. And then the bulk of the time, we're going to create a tour, see how it works, actually put one together. I would encourage you to do the same while I'm doing a sample tour. We'll finish up by talking about how you can share your tours with other people so that they can also take part in them. And finally, some options for playing your tours. There's a couple of different ways that people can experience them, including sending them over to Google Earth for an awesome 3D experience. We'll see how all of that works. All right, well, let's begin with the first topic, which is, what is Google Tour Builder? All right. Well, basically, Google Tour Builder, yeah, easy for me to say, it's one of the many Google tools that sometimes goes unnoticed. Not as many people are as aware of this one. What it does is it lets you create and share virtual tours by placing locations on a map. Now, when you put those locations on a map, you can add things to them. So in addition to the location itself, you can put images and videos with that place marker. You can add descriptions. You can put in hyperlinks if you want to let people click on something and jump out to some associated resources. Optionally, you can include dates associated with that location. You can customize the icon for that spot and more. Now, when you're done building your tour, of course, you can play it. You can play back through the tour right there in Tour Builder, but you can also share that tour with others so that they can play it as well. And like we said, you can now send that over to Google Earth as well for a little bit more of an immersive experience. Let's go ahead and take a look at some example tours to see what it is we're talking about here. Now, I believe that Google Tour Builder can really be used in any subject. If you're thinking, you're talking about maps, Eric, so I'm thinking this is like a social studies tool, right? Well, I mean, absolutely, without a doubt, it can be used in social studies, but I do believe this can apply really to any subject, because what you're basically doing is you're telling a story, or you're retelling an event, or explaining a process, or exploring a topic. You're putting locations on a map and then, like I said, telling a story or explaining something through those locations. And this really can apply to any subject area, which hopefully we'll see here as we look through a couple of these examples. The first example I'm going to show you is one that I made. The other examples after this I did not make. They were from other educators out there, and I thank them greatly for being willing to share these examples. This first one was one that I did do, wanted to make sure I understood the tool inside and out. And so this was the project that I gave myself several months ago to work on. And what I did was, for my first example, I built a tour about a book. There's a book called Small as an Elephant. It is a young adult book. Excellent story. I read it to my 3 sons a couple of years ago. And then when I was thinking about doing some stuff with Tour Builder, I said, this would be a perfect match to create a tour, because the story is about a boy who gets abandoned while he's on a camping trip up in Maine, but he lives, I believe, in Boston, and he's got to get all the way back. And so it's a story about him trying to make his way back home, and it actually visits real life locations all the way through as he tries to make his trek back home. It's a really powerful story. I would definitely encourage people to take a look at it if you're looking for some good young adult novels. And so I said this would be a perfect match for doing Tour Builder. Now, in this case, loosely, I would call this a lit trip. That is a term that usually when we think of, we typically apply to Google Earth. I am, in this case, applying it to Tour Builder. But many, many years ago, Jerome Berg, another awesome Google trainer, really popularized this idea of telling stories from novels on a map. And that's where Lit Trips originally came from. And there is a wonderful Google Lit Trips website out there that has loads and loads and loads of novels that have been turned into a map tour. So in this case, I am going to use this as such. So this is basically a lit trip that is telling the story of Small as an Elephant. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up my link to this, which I've got right here in the slideshow. If you guys would like to take a look at this too, right below the video, you'll see all of our resources. It is the very first one right here below the video where it says Lit Trip Small as an Elephant Tour Builder link. So if you want to click on that, or hey, feel free to click on any of them there. If something else is catching your eye, definitely click on some of the other ones there. But I'm going to go ahead and open up mine real quick here. And when we open it up, this is what we get. So if you've never seen Google Tour Builder, this is what it looks like. Okay, now I'm in play mode here, so I'm playing through the tour, not in edit mode. So this is what it would look like when somebody is playing the tour if they're doing it inside of Tour Builder. We're going to get into all the gory details later as to everything you can do in here, but let's at least take a quick little visit through this. So basically what you've got in Google Tour Builder is a couple of things. Down the left-hand side, you've got your different locations of the tour, and you can add as many locations as you want. I've got about a dozen or so in this particular tour. The next tab over then is the content for the location you're currently on. And then the final section over here is the map where you actually see the location you're talking about. Now, the way Tour Builder works is the very first tile on the left, it's actually not a location. Technically, the first tile is the introduction, sort of like the title slide. The ones below there actually go to spots. So on the introduction, we'll see that I have the title, Small as an Elephant, and I've got a quick little description about what the story is about, and got some links here. So folks could come in and say, oh, I'm curious, give a click on the Small as an Elephant link, and that will shoot you out to the website where you can learn more about the book and the author and get some awesome resources that Jennifer Jacobson has put on her website there. Additionally, there is a spot here for pictures, and I just went ahead and put the title page or the book cover for my image there. Now, when I'm ready to actually move into the tour, I can do it a couple of ways. There is a next button down here at the bottom, so next and back, I can move through that way, or you can just click on the tabs down the left-hand side as well. But if I hit the next button, it moves me to my first location. And so basically what you're going to see is Tour Builder is going to fly us in to that spot, whatever that first location was. So now we're at Seawall Campground, which is where this story begins. And again, I put in a blurb here to explain what it's like. And in this case, I'm trying to interact a little bit with the students as they're going through this tour. And so I've got a question, what would you do if you were all alone in a different state? And so as you go through these different locations, you'll see I pose some different questions, or I put some links to explore or things like that. Now, again, notice that we do have pictures here, and you can actually have quite a few. You can have 25 different pictures or videos can be put in here. And there's arrows I can move through to go through each of those. And if it's a video, I can play it. But in addition to that, there's also a full screen button I can hit here, which will make it go larger if I want to get a better, larger image of those pictures and or play that video that's there. Now, another cool thing to notice is over here where the map is, this is not just a static image. You can click and drag and move this around. Now, I'm not hurting the tour in any way. All the tour does is gets me to that starting spot. I can zoom in with my mouse, zoom out, drag it around. And if you really want to put yourself into it, notice that there is the option here in the top left of the map, the little peg man. It's the name of this little guy over here. This is peg man, the little peg man icon up here in the top left of the map. If you click and hold on to peg man and drag him over to the map, this is for Google Street View. Anywhere where you get the blue line means at some point Google drove their Street View car down the road there and they took pictures. And so if I want to, I can grab Pegman and drop him on the blue line. And now I'm inside of a Google Street View and I can explore it. Again, what a neat way to think about what it would be like for Jack, the protagonist of the story, to be all alone here in this campground, all by himself. Students can really put themselves into the situation at that point. And of course, this is regular Street View, so you can click the arrows and move around, and it's completely, you can explore anywhere you want to go to inside of Street View. And when you're done, there's an Exit Street View button in the top left to get back to the normal view. All right, and we're not going to obviously go through the whole tour. I'll let you guys do that, but just want to give you the basic idea. I can now come down and hit next, and it would take me to the next location, which is Bar Harbor, and then I've got pictures and videos there, then hit next, and it takes me to the next location, which is Trenton. Now notice I can also change the icons, and we'll do that too. You can change the icons for the different locations. They don't have to just be the regular place mark icon. They can also, there's not a ton you can choose from, but there are some in there that you can adjust. And also notice I do, again, like I said, I have links that I've included in here. On this particular one, we were talking about how Jack finds a truck parked at the Lobster Pound restaurant with a Massachusetts plate on it, and he thinks he wants to hitch a ride. And so I've got a link that shoots you out to the license plates of US, so you can explore all the different license plates from different states with a question about how has the plates for your state changed over time. So anyway, that's all I'll show you from that one, but you can certainly explore through it. And again, I do recommend the book. It's an excellent book, and please feel free to include this lit trip for students who are reading the book to get a little bit more involved in it. Now, in addition to my example, there's about 8 others that I've got linked in here. And again, I would encourage you to please read through the titles. And if there's one that fits a little bit more your subject area or grade level, and you're like, I think I might want to take a look at that, I would encourage you to do so. So for example, I'll just click a few. I won't take the time to click through all of these, but for example, there's one on 3D shapes in the real world, where basically this lit trip is for math, or lit trip, here I go. This tour, this Google tour is for math. And as we work through here, you'll see it'll zoom me into different locations, in this case with 3D shapes. So we've got a sphere for Spaceship Earth. And then we've got a cylinder for this tower. And again, we can always switch to street view if you want to see it from an angle. Well, you're getting a bit of an angle there. And as we keep going down, we get lots of different shapes, including the Great Pyramid of Giza further down here as well. Excellent. Let's take a look at a couple other tours. Make Way for Ducklings tour. This is a retelling of that book and takes you around to the different locations that the duck travels during that story. Animal habitats, get to visit all around the world to see different types of animal habitats, from the Arctic habitat to the desert to a temperate deciduous forest, and on and on. And again, you can zoom on in and get as close as you want in these locations. And then again, if you scroll down on the left, notice lots of pictures. So 12 images on this one. So a lot of pictures that you can go through, and links that jump you out to more resources, discussion questions and activities, key vocabulary, standards. So whoever put this one together really did a great job, including a lot of great resources along with it. Then we've got holidays around the world. We've got the U.S. Landmark Tour. We've got the American Revolution Tour. We've got an autobiography tour and one on art. This one actually visits all the different locations the artist had lived or visited, and at each of the different spots, or many of the spots, it includes artwork that is related to that particular location for when the artist was at that particular spot. Fantastic. And again, I want to thank Jolie Boucher for this. Jolie is a fantastic educator that I connect with on Twitter a lot of times, and she had a wonderful list of these tours that she provided in a tour builder training she had done, and she graciously allowed me to link in many of these examples from these fantastic teachers. So thank you, Jolie. I really appreciate your sharing of those. All right, so hopefully that gives you an idea of what Tour Builder is and what are some examples of what you can do with it. Now, again, this could be you creating these tours, or this could be your students. There's certainly no problem at all with you as a teacher putting together a tour as an activity for your students. But at the same time, this is a great tool for students to use. Let them build a tour to explain their understanding, or to retell a story, or to do an about me autobiography type of a tour. A lot of neat possibilities there. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into making a tour. And again, I do see a lot of comments and questions starting to pop up into the chat doc. Keep on doing that. We will, I hope, reserve a little bit of time at the end here to address those. So please keep those coming. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving forward with our next topic, which is, how do you make a tour? All right, well, it's pretty easy to do. So to create a Google tour, what you're going to want to do is go to the Tour Builder website, which is found at tourbuilder.withgoogle.com. And again, if you need that link and don't feel like typing it in, again, it is right below the video. Right here is the Google Tour Builder website link as well. So you can get that as well below the video. All right. Now, when you get to the Tour Builder website, if you're not signed in, you will need to click the sign in button. I'm already signed in at the moment. I clicked on it earlier today, so it does have me signed in. But if not, there'll be a little sign in button here you can click. And you don't need a new account or anything like that. You just sign in with your regular Google account, which is fantastic. And then once you're signed in, if you do have tours, those will be up here in the My Tours section up here in the top left. You can also browse the gallery, look at shared tours that people have shared with you. For now, though, we're going to talk about creating a brand new tour. So we'll assume that you have not yet created any tours and you're going to make one yourself. And so once you get signed in, we'll use the Create a Tour button, which is right here. Now, that's going to pop up a screen where basically it's going to ask you to put in a name for the tour, and then your author name that you want to show on there, and then you can create the tour. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to do a portion of the small as an elephant tour. So I'm just going to redo a small portion of that, a couple of locations, and I'll just use that for my example. So for my tour name, small as an elephant, and of course for the author name, just myself. So again, I would encourage you guys to play along and try that out. And do notice they do let you know your tour is completely private until you decide to share. So nobody's going to come across your tour while you're just working on it. And that's it. Go ahead and click Create Tour, and away you go. Fantastic. All right, so now this should look familiar. It looks a lot like what we saw earlier, but we're now actually in edit mode because we can now type in and actually make changes to things. Later on, when we finish and we say we're done editing, it'll pop us over into the play mode where we can play through the tour. All right, so here we are at Tour Builder. Again, very similar. Down the left-hand side are all the where the locations are going to go. The second spot over is where we put the content for that location. And then finally is the map, where we're going to be able to go and zoom into the locations that we want to add. First of all, like we said, though, you need to start with your introduction. So the introduction doesn't really have a location. There's no address for this. The introduction is basically just the tour name, your name, a picture if you'd like to add a photo. Now, this is different. You can only add one photo to the intro. You can add 25 photos or videos to the locations, but just for the intro, it's just one photo. And then you want to give a little summary about what the story is. So I'm going to leave it alone. The tour name and my name is fine. But down here where it says, tell the story, give a little introduction to it. I'll go ahead and copy and paste. I'm cheating a little bit. I've pre-written some of this stuff ahead of time just to save a little bit of time. But here I'll put in a little blurb about what this story is about Jack Martell getting abandoned while camping 240 miles from home. The book was written in 2013, and this lit trip was created by me. Okay. Now, in addition to putting text in there, do notice you do have some formatting options. There's bold and italics and underline and links and bullets and numbers and things like that. So like if I wanted to bullet my contact info, I could do that. Let's say I want to put in a link. For example, we had mentioned that Small as an Elephant, has its own web page out there. So I could come here and highlight the words Small as an Elephant, and I could click the link option in the toolbar, and I could paste in the actual website for Jennifer Jacobson's website. And I would definitely want to check the open in a new tab button there. That way, otherwise, if somebody clicks on the link, it'll replace your tour instead of opening up in a new tab. So I would definitely have that selected. All right, go ahead and click OK. And there's the idea behind that. Now, I won't make all of these links at the moment, but you get the idea. So you can put in some additional content there besides just your text. As far as adding a photo goes, if you click on Add a Photo, there's quite a few options for adding pictures. You can go to Your Albums. Your Albums is going to be your Google Photo album. So if you use Google Photos, anything you've saved to Google Photos will be available in there. You can also search for images. You can run a Google search for an image. You can put a link into an image, or you can just upload a picture. I believe I have the Small as an Elephant cover. Let's go ahead and I'll just type it in here. I believe I've got that in my downloads. Yep, there it is, the Small as an Elephant book cover. And if I go ahead and upload that, boom, there it is. And so that adds that in as my cover picture. All right. Now that's pretty much your introduction. There is an option to change the color of the path. I'll just leave mine on yellow, but if you want to, you can have a different color between each of the locations. I'll just leave mine on yellow. That is fine. All right. Now that gets you past the introduction. Now we're ready to start adding locations. Now again, I'm not going to add a bunch, but I'm going to try to show you all of the bells and whistles for each one of them. I'll probably add like 2 locations just so we can kind of see what it looks like. Obviously in a real tour, you would feel free to put in as many different locations as you or your students would like. So how do we go about adding a location? Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to click the Add Location button over on the left, and then we'll put in our address. We can search for it or type in the address. And once we find the address that we're looking for, there's a drop place mark option to drop that onto, excuse me, you can either do the search. Here we go. You can either do the search for the address, or you can click drop place mark if you want to manually drop it. When you're done finding it, then you click add to tour, and that's what drops it officially into your tour. So either search for an address or manually drop the place mark to where you want it. So let's try that out. So my story starts at the campground at Seawall Campground up in Maine. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to click Add Location to add my first location to the tour. Here it opens up that spot where I said you can either drop the place mark and move it where you want it, or you can search for the location. So I'm going to search for Seawall Campground in Maine. And let's see what we get when we run a search for that. Looks like it's finding it pretty good. There it is. Now here's Seawall Campground. And I think when I did this originally, I actually moved the location a little bit more toward this area where we had this crossroads. And you can certainly do that. You can leave it right where it's at, or you can grab the place mark if you want to move it later. I'll show you how you can drag that around. But for right now, that is the spot I'm looking for. Yes, this is Seawall Campground up in Maine. So as long as you have found the place that you were hoping to find, go ahead and just click the blue Add to Tour button. Right now, it's just finding the location. It hasn't officially put it into our tour yet. So once you're happy and say, yep, that is basically the spot I was looking for, you can tweak it later. Go ahead and click Add to Tour. And now, ta-da, there it is. So now I actually have a location on the left-hand side. Seawall Campground has been added. And at this point, there are loads of things that we can edit for each location. So let's go through. We're going to go through each one of the different things you can tweak about the location that you've now added to there. Now, if you accidentally add a location you didn't mean to, there is a trash can button here. So for any location, you can also delete it if you said, whoops, did not mean to put that location on. So what kind of things can you do once you've got the location? Well, first thing, of course, is the location name. Now, it's going to grab that location name from your search, but maybe that's not exactly what you wanted it to say. Please feel free. You can change this location name to be descriptive in any way you want. It doesn't have to be the actual name of the spot. It can be something else entirely. So feel free to type in a different location name if you wish. Below that is where you can add your photos and videos. Like we said, you can add up to 25 of them for any one location. So if I come here and click on Add Photos and Videos, there's actually quite a number of ways you can do this. So you've got your albums, again, anything from your Google Photos, your YouTube, if you've got videos you've put on YouTube. You can upload photos. You can upload videos. You can take a snapshot if you want to use your webcam to take a snapshot. And then under the More section, there's even more things. So don't miss these. Under the More, there is Search for Images. So run a Google search for images, search YouTube, put in an image URL, or put in a YouTube URL. There's a lot of options here. For this example, I'm going to go with search for images. I'm just going to search for a couple of things. So let me put in Seawall Campground in Maine, and let's see. And so a bunch of pictures are coming up now that are related to Seawall Campground in Maine. And do notice the results being shown are labeled for commercial reuse. When you run a search inside of the Google products like this, they do a search that does look for things that are not copyright protected. So these are images that you're allowed to use for whatever you might need to. So for example, one of the first images is a map of that location. So that's fine. I could go ahead and click on that and add that. And if I want to keep on adding more pictures, just click on the little plus button, and maybe I'll grab this picture from the campground and I'll add that. And if I want to add more, I could come up and let's see. How about if we look at, I believe this is Acadia National Park is where this is located. So that would probably, oh yes, that'll bring up a bunch of really gorgeous pictures as well. I can grab those and add those as well. And again, if I wanted to add any more things, we could also do videos. And so if I do the same thing and I search for a video, let's see if we've got any videos for Acadia National Park. And there we go. So here we have a video about that national park. And so the point is you can add, like I said, up to 25 different pictures and videos and put those in there. And it looks like I added the map twice, so we will get rid of one of the two. There we go. Excellent. All right. So in addition to adding photos and videos, the next thing you can do is you can add start and end dates if you would like. Now, in this case, it doesn't necessarily make sense on this one because I don't know exactly what dates this story took place on. But if you were doing battles from a war, or you were doing something that was autobiographical or biographical about somebody, you could put in months and dates and years for the start and end time that cover this part of the Lewis and Clark expedition or whatever it might be. In this case, I'm going to skip that because it doesn't quite fit into my particular theme, but you certainly can fill that in. Next up, the what's it about section. So now you want to put in whatever content you want connected to this part of your story. Now, again, I'm going to cheat and save a little bit of time here. I'm just going to copy and paste what I've already got over here. But again, it could be as simple as you just typing in some text that gives more details about this location, what happened here. Again, if it's a math tour, you could be talking about the parallel lines or the transversal or the different shapes that you're seeing on the map there. And again, please feel free to use bold, italic, underlined links, bullets, and numbering as needed if you want to make this a little bit more fancy there. Below the text section, you have a location icon option. By default, it's just going to be a little red pin. If you don't want that, you can click on Change Icon, and it will give you not a real large amount, but it'll give you some to choose from. But do notice you are allowed to put in a link to a different image. So it can be a JPEG, a PNG, a BMP, a GIF. So if you find an image online or an icon you would like to use, as long as you can get the link to it, you can put that in yourself as well. I'm just going to go ahead and go with what looks like a campground icon because that would make a lot of sense for this. Awesome. Next thing you can do is you can customize the view. So in addition to putting in, the title and the pictures and the dates and the description and the icon, if you say, when a student first goes to this location, rather than seeing what we're seeing here, I would actually like to adjust this a little bit. So we can do a couple of things. One thing is we can grab our place mark and we can put it somewhere else if we would prefer. So this is totally fine. We can leave him right here where he is. But if I wanted to move this somewhere else within the campground, I could certainly do that as well. That is not a problem at all. And then you can zoom in, of course, and zoom out. The point is you can get this initial view to look exactly the way you want it to be. If you prefer that a student, when they're taking the tour, starts by seeing this view, or you want them to see this really far out view, that is all fine. Or again, if you want it to be street view, you can. You can come up here and grab a little peg man in the top left, drag him down and drop him on the map. And you could say, that's the view that I want the student to see when they very first get to this location. I want them to actually be inside of the campground and see what it looks like here. The point is, whatever you do to this view, when you're happy with it, there is a button in the top right that says lock this view. What that'll do is it'll lock it in so that that's going to be what the student sees when they first come to this location. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in street view for this one, and boom, there we go. Awesome. All right. And we just went through all of that about locking in the view. And so basically what you guys will do now is just rinse and repeat and just keep on doing it. So that's your first location. You would now come over here to the left and you'd click add location, and you would just keep on heading down the line, adding more and more of these in. So if next I wanted to put in Bar Harbor, Maine, let it find that location and say, yep, that's where we want it to be, up here in Bar Harbor, because that's the next stop in the book. Come here and click add to tour. And now it connects that location. If you see, if I scroll out, you'll see it's now connecting the initial spot where he starts off at the campground. It's connecting it now to the new location up here in Bar Harbor. And again, I could continue on by, zooming in, locking the view, putting in photos, putting in a description, changing the icon, and so forth. I'm just going to do one more with a little bit of a twist on my third and final location that I'm going to add in. So let me add one more location. And for this one, I'm going to do the one where he was at the restaurant, Luntz Gateway Lobster Pound, when he found the truck that had a Massachusetts license plate on it. So let's go ahead and let me find that location. That one is in Trenton, but it's Luntz Gateway Lobster Pound in Trenton. Let's see if it finds it there. Okay. Yes, it looks like it's finding it just fine. And for this one, so we're going to do things just a little bit different. I'll just show you a little twist on this. Totally an option. You do not have to do this, but I'm just going to show you a little tweak you can do if you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the tour. Say, yep, this is the next spot where he stopped in the book. So I'll click add to tour. And so now that is on my tour. And of course, again, I could, add, dates and photos and all kinds of things like that. Here's what I want to show you, though. That's just a little bit of a different twist on this. This box here, where you can fill in all of your description, all of your information, works great. You can put your text in there, bold, italic, underlined links, bullet numbers, and so forth. However, it's a little restrictive. There's actually more stuff you're allowed to do in this box than actually shows up here. Here's what I mean. If you type up your description and add some images and put in some links and do some other things in, for example, Google Docs, and then copy and paste it, you can do all of your writing separately, and then you can just paste it right into this box, and it will take all of that stuff. So, for example, what I've done is in the slideshow, I have a link to a tour builder text template. Now, there's nothing fancy about it. It's basically just a Google Doc where I kind of pulled the margins in a little bit because you don't have a lot of room to work with. This is not a really big, giant box to work in here. But if you come here in the slideshow and I click on my tour builder text template, and make a copy of it. Again, it's nothing fancy. It's just a Google Doc where I've pulled the margins in. So you don't really need to make a copy of my template. I just had it made up ahead of time to save myself a little bit of time. And I try to keep it small. So it's only about 3 inches across. So I've really tightened this up quite a bit because you don't have a lot of room to work with here. And so I didn't want to kind of overshoot. So let's say that I wanted to put some text into this. Let me paste in some text here, and I'll zoom in a bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. So let's say here's my text. And what I want to do, though, is I want to be creative. And instead of putting my pictures up here at the top, I want to put my pictures inside of the actual description text down here. So what I can do is by using Google Docs and typing this up ahead of time, I could come here and say, you know what? I want to insert an image. And let's run a search, and let's find a Massachusetts. So yeah, here goes Eric spelling Massachusetts correctly. License plate. And there we go. And I'll grab that image and I'll drop it right into my Google document there. And again, I can put links in here as well. Like we had said earlier, I had that link that takes you out to all the license plates in the US. So I'll go ahead and say, let's turn that into a link, and we'll paste in the link I have to that license plate website. And so basically what could happen is you could do work inside of a Google Doc ahead of time and then simply copy all of that. And when I come here and I copy that, when I come back over to Tour Builder and I right click and paste that in, it actually brings all of that stuff with it. And so this is just kind of a hack, a little trick if you would like to be able to get images inside of your description area here. Instead of using what's up at the top, you can come down here and you can add some additional things down in that spot there. All right. And so that's basically the idea. You would just continue to do this process, adding more locations and putting in all of the links and resources and questions and activities and pictures and videos that you would want for each location. All right. Excellent. So at that point, when we get to our next step, we're going to say we are done. We're going to say we are finished building our tour, and now we want to go ahead and share this tour with others so other people can play it and can take advantage of it. Okay, so how does that work? Well, when you're all finished, and again, I know I would normally add a bunch of more locations, but we'll pretend for now that that's all for now for our tour. When you're all done, you will see that up in the top right, you got a couple of buttons. There's a save button, which basically saves it, but lets you keep editing. And then there's a done editing button. If you click done editing, it is going to save that tour as it is right now and take you out of edit mode. Now, you can always go back into edit mode. Just go back up to the menu in the top, and there's an edit button. Boom, you're right back into edit mode. Keep on working on it. When you're done, click done editing, and you're done now, and it's ready to be played. So let's talk about letting other people get access to your tour now that you've built this. So the way that works is in the top right, you'll see there's a share button. Okay, so you click on the share button in the top right-hand corner, and it's going to pop up a window that's sort of similar to what we see when we share like a Google Doc or things like that, in the sense that there's a spot to invite people and there's a spot to change the link privileges. Okay, and that's the same for a Google document as well. You can either share a Google document with specific people, or you can share it as a link more generally. Same thing is true with tours. However, there are some limitations here. So for example, if I come to the share button and I put in somebody's email address, so I'll go ahead and share this with my regular Gmail account. Notice that when I go to share this, nowhere over here is it popping up asking what permissions I want to give. Because normally when you share a doc, it's like, do you want to give them view rights? Do you want to give them comment rights? Do you want to give them edit rights? At the moment, Tour Builder only gives view rights. You're not able to collaborate on a tour inside of Tour Builder with somebody else. You can share it so they can play it, but that's it. So if I come in here and say I want to share and save this, it has now added my other account, my personal account, and it is going to be can view. Now you can remove somebody and you can add more people, but it's just view rights. But the point is those people are now going to be able to look at an email saying here's a link to the tour, and it would also show up in their shared tours so they could go in and open that tour up and play it. Now your other option is, instead of giving it to specific people, notice that every tour has a unique link. Okay, this is the unique link for that tour. At the moment, it's private. Only myself and anybody that I've shared this with are allowed to view the tour. But if you want to change that, what you can do is you can use the change link, okay, next to who can view it. And from this change link, I can say, is it private from just me and the people I shared it to, or is it available to anyone who has the link? If we pop that up to anyone with the link and hit save, now this link, if I copy this link anybody I give that link to can click on it and they can run the tour. So I could take that link and I could put it on my website. I could put it on my blog. I could send it out on Twitter or Facebook or Pinterest, or I could put it in a newsletter or Google Doc, or you get the idea. Anyway, I wouldn't have to actually explicitly share it with people's emails. I would just give them the link. And that's actually what you guys did. So if you go back to all the links that we have underneath our live video, that's all these are. These are just those public links. And so each one of these is just that same link. And when somebody clicks on it, it opens up the tour for them. All right. Excellent. Which brings us to the final scheduled portion of this. And then I promised I will take a look at all the questions and comments coming in, and I think we'll be good. We'll have some time to take some questions here at the end. So this brings us to the final scheduled portion of this, which is playing the tour. All right. Now, I think we're probably already pretty comfortable with the normal way to play a tour in Tour Builder, which is basically, as long as you open the tour, you can just play through it. So again, the question is, how do you go about opening the tour? Well, again, if it's your tour, you're just going to go to Google Tour Builder and go to My Tours. So if I come back here and I go back to Google Tour Builder and I go up to My Tours, I can find any of the tours that I've created. As you can see, I've demoed this a number of times. And then I could just open my tour back up, and then I would be able to play through the tour. On the other hand, if this was shared with me, I would just need to click the link for the tour that was shared with me, just like you guys were doing underneath our live video. All these tours here are just links. And again, once it's opened up, if you want to play it inside of Tour Builder, we've already done that, and you get the idea. Basically, you click the next button to move through the locations, or you click on the locations down the left to jump to the different locations. And of course, you're allowed to, zoom in, zoom out, and so forth. The only thing that you really can do as far as viewing this a little bit differently, I believe, yes, there's a full screen option. So if you go to the very top right and you click the menu, there is a play full screen option, which just makes it bigger. So now as you move through, you've got a little bit more real estate to work with there. And then you click exit full screen when you are done viewing it full screen. Now, that's cool. That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that at all. This is how Tour Builder has worked for years here. It's fantastic. You can play the tour and go through and experience all the stuff and click on the links and look at the pictures and play the videos, and that is great. Having said that, though, in addition to playing it the normal way, here's the real fun part of it. You now have a new option. Tours that are created in Tour Builder can be opened in the new web version of Google Earth, which makes a much more immersive experience. Okay, so let's show you how that works. Let me do this. Let me open up the other tour, my original Small as an Elephant, with all of the links in it, because obviously this one does not have all the links in it. This one does. Here's the way it works. If you go to the top menu button in the top right hand corner, one of the options up there is Open in Earth. And all you have to do, if you're playing anybody's tour, it can be your tour, it can be a tour that somebody else has given you the link for, simply go up to the top button in the top right and click Open in Earth. And it is going to launch the new web version of Google Earth, and it's going to load that entire tour right there inside of Google Earth. Now, this is fantastic. So what we've basically got here, very much the same kind of idea. Here's the tour. Here's all the different locations. Okay, there they are. And over here on the right-hand side is that description box. So a little different. In Tour Builder, the map is on the right, and then the description is in the middle. Now, the map is in the middle, and the description's over on the right, and the locations are also listed down the left. But again, we can simply hit the little arrow buttons to move through. And instead of doing the little staggered zoom in that it does, we're going to fly in nice and 3D to the location. And because this is Google Earth, again, we can move around, zoom in, zoom out. But don't forget, what's really cool in Google Earth is you've got the 3D button down here in the bottom right-hand corner. That if I click that, it switches me from 2D to 3D. And so now it's like I'm really just flying above that location, and really gives me a very immersive experience. And if I move on to my next location, that'll fly me up to Bar Harbor. And again, once I get there, if I want to switch into 3D mode, I can see what that town looks like from up in the air and get a better idea of what it was like for Jack to be in that location. And then we'll move on to the next. And here's where we go to the Lobster Pound. And again, notice, because I put the Massachusetts license plate image inside of the text, it's not up here in the scrolling pictures. Instead, it's actually embedded right into the description here at this spot. Awesome. So, oh, and I should say this, if somebody wants to hang on to this tour, after you've opened it up in Google Earth, what it's doing is it's basically adding it into your My Places section over here on the left. And so in addition to being able to scroll through and click the links and zoom in and zoom out, you can also save the tour in My Places. So if you say, this is a pretty neat tour, I don't want to, lose track of this, over here on the left, there's a save button. If I click that, what it does is it saves Small as an Elephant, or whatever that tour is, it saves it into your My Places section. Now, if you've never done that before, the first time you do that, it'll probably pop up a warning saying, do you want to allow Google Earth to save files locally on this machine? And so it will, it will do that. But now the point is that will be in My Places here, so that if later I was to, be somewhere else, whoops, sorry about that. I'll just do the dice. I'm feeling lucky, fly somewhere else on the world. Now I can always come back over to My Places over here on the left, and Small as an Elephant is still there. And I could say, oh, I want to, view this tour. And whoops, sorry about that. I want to view this tour, open it up, and there it is. And I could get back into viewing the tour. And it'll be saved in My Places. All right, so that gets us to the questions. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take a peek over here and see what sort of things might be popping in that we can answer. So one of the questions that showed up here was, will you be showing anything about measuring distances between points in Tour Builder? Now, unless somebody else knows differently, I am not aware of any measurement tools inside of Tour Builder. The place that I know of for measurement tools would be Google My Maps. And there's a lot of crossover between these tools. And My Maps, you can go to your Drive if you want to get to My Maps. If you go to Drive and click New and go down to More, you'll see Google My Maps. That's one way to get to it. If you want to create a new map, so New, More, Google My Maps, and this will create a new My Maps for you. And inside of Google My Maps, you can very much the same drop places on a map. So you can come in and you can say, oh, I want to find a location. So, I mean, I could probably do a lot of the same things. I could do like seawall, campground, Maine, and I could run a search for that location. And I could say, oh, let's add this to the map. And I could drop that on the map there. I don't have quite as many editing options here, but I definitely do have some. You can change the style of the icon. There's bunches of icons you can choose from. There's actually more icons in this one than the other. You can change the color as well. You can edit the description here. You can add pictures and videos to the location. And you can also get directions to that location. Now, not quite as much flexibility like adding links and stuff. You can put them in, but you don't have like a link button and the bold and the italics. So there's not quite as much editing options for it. But to your question, yes, this one has a measurement tool in it. So basically what you can do is from any spot, you can use your measurement tool and you can start clicking and dragging out and saying, what if I went on a trip and I was I have to scroll down to get this to move a little bit. Come on, scroll down. There we go. Oh, I'm going in a circle. But anyway, I could, start measuring out. And as I'm going here, and we'll just shoot off through the woods here. Here we go. You see it's telling me how many miles I'm going each time I click. And you can change the settings as to whether it's miles or kilometers, I believe. I've got mine set on miles. I actually use this tool. I use this tool for when I'm trying to find a jogging route, which I should do more than I do, but I try to jog as much as I can. And I actually use this. I zoom in on my neighborhood and I try to find, oh, what if I wanted to go, 3 miles or 4 miles? What would be a route to go? And so this is a tool that can be used to measure distances. And again, that is inside of Google My Maps rather than in Tour Builder. Again, a lot of similarities, some differences. You can, of course, share this with other people as well. The difference with My Maps is people can collaborate with you. So My Maps can be collaborative. You can have more than one person working on a map together. To get it into Google Earth, you can do it, but you've got to jump through a few more hoops. You've got to come up here and you have to export the map as a KML file, and then you have to import that KML file into Google Earth. I actually have directions about KML files on my blog. So to answer your question, short answer is no, not inside of Tour Builder. Long answer is you may want to take a look at My Maps because that may be a better match for what you're trying to do. Okay, next question. Would love to see this under the new More button in G Suite. Any plans on Google doing that? As far as Tour Builder goes, no, I don't believe so. It's, I don't want to say a beta project, but it's one of their side projects. It would have to get, have to graduate and get elevated up. I've heard rumors, people have said that they thought it was going to get combined with Google Earth in some way. I have not heard any verifiable rumors on that. I just have heard people have said that. So who knows? Maybe, this will eventually graduate up into Google Earth or some connection there. Let me see, what else do we have here? I've created several tours for teacherfirst.com that are a version of the Lit Trip called Reading Tricks, and there's a link to that. Oh, excellent. So if anybody would like to take a look at that in the chat doc, there's a link to teachersfirst.com/reading-treks, and you can take a look at some of those tours that have been created with that tool. Next, great for any subject or literature study, fiction or nonfiction, where place is important to the content. Works extremely well with high school nonfiction reading. Many times the high school articles are dry to students, but putting one of these in changes the game. Excellent. So here's one. Yes, I've created a Tour Builder tour, and it's part of a quest game I made for my Year 8 Chinese class, and there's a link to that. You guys definitely got to check out the Q&A doc. A lot of good links people are putting in there. Question, in your Elephant Tour Builder, I don't get the map interactions, lines zooming in, showing up. I don't know why that wouldn't be showing for you. I would check your browser, and I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for you on that. I'm using Chrome at the moment. I would wonder if you're not being able to get the map interactions and zoom in and zoom out. Double check your browser, make sure you're using Chrome. And again, I apologize, I don't have an answer for you on that off the top of my head. Next, compare My Maps and Tour Builder. Well, we kind of did that. So I hopefully that gave you a good example. Yeah, you can drop place marks, put in pictures, put in descriptions. Like I said, the difference is Tour Builder, really easy to shoot into Google Earth. My Maps, a couple more hoops to jump through. Tour Builder, a little bit more geared toward chronology, like moving in a specific order. My Maps, a little bit more geared toward a collection of locations. There are some other differences as well, but those are a couple. All right. Oh my gosh, you guys have this document is massive. I'm gonna have to start skimming now and seeing. Oh, and somebody put in the link for the Lit Trips. Thank you very much. GoogleLitTrips.org. Thank you so very much. Again, those are not going to be in Tour Builder. Those are going to be something you're going to open up in Google Earth, but they're very much connected to the same idea. Keep on going down. I'm just going to look for something that's a key item to address. Looks like somebody said about making the tours public. We talked about that, about doing the sharing link for that. Yes, just make sure you share it as a link. Somebody has a Canadian example. Excellent. Thanks for putting that in there. Oh, can tours be exported? Yeah, you certainly can. If I go back over to my tour here, instead of clicking the top right button and saying open in Earth, I can also click that top right button and I can choose export. Now, if you choose export, you can download that as what's called a KML file. And that's the same thing that happens in My Maps. Now, KML means Keyhole Markup Language. And the reason is because Google Earth, the product, was purchased by Google from a company that was called Keyhole. That was the name of the product originally. So many, 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 many years ago, Google Earth was not Google Earth. It was called Keyhole. That was the name of the product. And Google bought Keyhole and they renamed it Google Earth, but they never changed the name of the scripting language in the background. So KML is Keyhole Markup Language. KMZ just means a zipped file that's in Keyhole Markup Language. So yes, you can also export these as KMLs, and then you can import that KML into the desktop version of Google Earth. You can also import it into the Google Earth, the web version. You just don't need to because you can now send it straight over to there. But if you wanted to, basically what you do is you go back to My Places. Whoops, go back to My Places, close out of this. And let's delete that. And from My Places in Google Earth, there's an import KML link, and you can import the file there. If you don't see the import KML file, it means you need to turn that on in your settings. If you go into your settings of Google Earth, there's an option to flip a switch to import KML files. And as long as you've got that turned on under My Places, you can import KML files. But again, you don't really need to do that now because you can just send this straight to Google Earth from there. But anyway, that's an option for you. Can you upload 360-degree images and videos? You can upload any video that's in Google, excuse me, that's on YouTube. Good question. What about a 360-degree video? Would it work that way? That's an awesome one. You guys should definitely poke a stick at it and see what happens. What I would do is I would go in to edit this, and I'd say, let's add a video, and I'd go to search YouTube. And what I would do is I would put in something like 360-degree video, and there's so many on there. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if we added a 360-degree video, what would happen? Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Remember, guys, the motto is poke a stick at it. If you don't know, you poke a stick at it. Hey, look, it works, guys. Yep, I can drag my hand all around and move it. It's not an exciting one yet. Let's move ahead a little bit in it. There we go. Yep, look at that. 360-degree video. Awesome. So yeah, as long as it's a 360-degree video that's available inside of YouTube that you can add, you got it. There you go. There's a 360-degree video. That's awesome. Very cool stuff. Good question. Thanks for asking that, guys. I'm going to have to keep looking at these afterwards and fill in some answers because it looks like we are just now starting to run over time, and I really do try to respect people's time and keep this close to an hour. So thank you guys so much for these additional questions that are in there. I will make sure to read through these this evening and throw in some answers where applicable. If anybody thinks there's something in there that's really, 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 really important that I need to address, maybe highlighted in yellow or something so I can see it real quick here, but it does look like for the most part people have done a great job of answering folks' questions. Oh, do custom icons generally transfer to Google Earth? Not all the time. Good question there. Yeah, if you're doing an icon and you are not using the built-in icons and you're putting in your own there, I have seen sometimes where the custom icons don't come through. I had a lit trip for Esperanza Rising, and a lot of the icons were supposed to be different fruits and vegetables because it's about this girl who's fleeing from Mexico to the U.S. and she's working in a lot of different fields as she goes. And so it was these different crops, and none of the icons came through on that because they were custom icons. So your mileage will vary on custom icons. I have seen that. All right, love it. And then, oh yes, Anthony shared his site. Says for you map nuts out there, here's a site with loads of mapping tools. My wonderful friend Anthony has his site ztlearn.com, and so at ztlearn.com/social-studies, you can grab the link in the Q&A doc. He has a load of awesome resources for more maps things. Well, guys, I want to thank you again so very much for being here today. As always, for taking time out of your day to either watch this live or watch it later on. I want to, again, thank you so much for being here. All of the resources for today's session, again, can be found at tiny.cc, /spark247. I will also put a blog post on my controlaltachieve.com website shortly after this that will have the video there as well, in addition to resources there. So that will be another location that you can go to get those. Again, check back on the website, follow me on social media, subscribe to our newsletter to stay in the loop on other upcoming webinars. Should have one each month. Again, sorry I don't have those on the agenda just yet for November and December, but I should get those posted within the next couple of days. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this session. Hope to see you again in the coming weeks and months for more educational technology webinars. Take care, everyone.